everyone. Welcome to Infection Control Matters. We've got a good friend of our podcast with us.
I was going to say an old friend, but really I mean a friend I've known for some time.
Yes.
And it's Professor Tom Riley from Perth, who we bumped into.
We bumped into in Munich. So.
As you do.
And it wasn't that Oktoberfest either.
No, it wasn't. No, it's definitely not Oktoberfest. No, it's more like Aprilfest. Anyway, we thought we'd catch up with Tom because he has his finger on the pulse on, actually generates a lot of the what's new in C. diff anyway. So what's new in the world of Clostridioides difficile?
Well, I still don't call it Clostridioides, but I'm allowed to because I am.
What's the story? Why did they change it?
Well, the problem is it is different to the other Clostridia, and technically it can be slotted into and was slotted into a new genus, Clostridioides, which means Clostridium-like, but both names are validly published, and therefore, according to the nomenclature people, you can use whichever name you like. It's not really a problem.
And what do you like to use? Clostridium?
I still, if I can get away with using Clostridium difficile, I use Clostridium difficile. There are many journal editors in chief that say no, you can't do that, and that's fine. If they want to make a rule that we only want Clostridioides, that's fine. When they say things like, well, no, the CDC has changed the name and it's Clostridioides, and I tell them, well, no, that's not actually true. It's nothing to do with the CDC. And most of the stuff we see on the CDC, not most of the stuff, I'm exaggerating, some of the stuff on the CDC website is incorrect. And that's one of the things where it says this is its new name and we're not allowed to use the other one. Well, you can use whichever name you like.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's a good start.
So what is new?
What is new?
Well, the stuff, again, I mean, it's not new. It's not new to me, but it seems to be catching on now, the fact that Clostridium difficile infection is a One Health issue. And I think that's the most exciting thing that's happened in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
Because we're seeing that being reflected in the place of acquisition. If you bother to go and look at where people are acquiring this C. diff, in Australia, for example, at the moment, 80% of the C. diff disease is acquired in the community, and it's no longer a hospital problem in Australia. I mean, the infection prevention strategies that have been used in Australian hospitals seem to work quite well, but a much bigger problem, of course, has now emerged, and that is that everybody's getting a C. diff in the community.
And that's food related, I'm assuming.
Not necessarily food. A proportion of it probably is food related, but it's certainly agriculture related. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And in fact, we're just finishing an NH&MRC project that was funded 4 years ago, which was basically, if I summarise it, describing transmission pathways of C. difficile, with the idea of trying to work out where all these people in the community are getting their C. diff from. And again, to summarise it in a couple of words, and indeed we've used this in the title of a few poster presentations where it says, follow the faeces, because that's what you've got to do. And,
I knew it'd be something good.
Yeah. And this is animal feces. So, the issue is that in the early 1990s, the FDA, I think, I might be incorrect in saying it was the FDA, somebody in the United States licensed cephalosporins for use in production animals. In the year 2000, the Australian equivalent, the TGA, Therapeutic Goods Administration, licensed cephalosporins for production animal use. That is what has driven the expansion of C. difficile outside hospitals. And so, there's a lot, well, not in Australia, there's not a lot of pigs, but, go to some parts of the world, like Southeast Asia, I mean, pork is the most commonly consumed meat. In the United States, there are lots of pigs. It's the major industry in Denmark. It's a big industry in the Netherlands and a few other countries. And so expansion of C. difficile, amplification of C. difficile in pigs is a big issue. Any animal that gets antibiotics, particularly cephalosporins, is at risk of joining this large pile of poo, so to speak. So equine vets love this drug called ceftiofur, which is the animal equivalent, if you like, of ceftriaxone, or veterinary equivalent. And so now C. difficile is a major problem in causing diarrhea in adult horses. And not to trivialise it, but, if your little piglet gets C. diff and dies, maybe that costs the pig farmer $20 or $50 or something like that. But if your $5 million racehorse gets C. difficile diarrhea, that's a major issue.
Have there been any restrictions or less use of his antimicrobials in more recent years, or is it still as prolific as it was 10 years ago?
So I had a feeling in Denmark they cut down the use of sporins in pigs, didn't they?
Indeed,
because of the RE issues.
Indeed. For a different issue, the RE and perhaps extended spectrum beta-lactamases, and yes, they did do that. I can really only talk about Australia, but there's been no change, as far as I can tell, in cephalosporin use in animals in Australia. And like I say, equine vets love it because, for the same reason that human doctors and nurses love ceftriaxone, you give it once a day, not 4 times a day.
Yeah.
So, you give a horse 4 injections and you only have to give it 1 injection, you've got much less chance of getting kicked in the head. And so the equine vets really like it.
Yeah.
And so now there's even a long-acting version of ceftiofur, which is 1 injection a week. Wow. So that, to me, is not a good thing.
Is it used in poultry as well, or not just?
Well, there was a time, and they have banned it now. Certainly in North America, every egg known to man was injected with cephalosporin.
Good.
Yeah. But they finally banned that a couple of years.
For what reason were they doing that? Just to
stop
people getting sick, or?
Yeah, stop the eggs getting contaminated with enteric bacteria, particularly salmonella. I mean, salmonella is a big problem in eggs. We're fortunate in Australia that antibiotic use in the poultry industry is not a big thing at all, so we don't have that issue. But they were injecting every egg with
I never knew that.
ceftiofur.
So presumably then all this C. diff in animal faeces wouldn't be a problem until you do something else with the faeces.
Indeed. And so, in again, I'll only really talk about Australia. I mean, I know what goes on near some of the racing horse areas. The horse trainers, they leave bags of horse manure out the front for people to come and take away. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And they love going around collecting free manure. And so I don't have proof that 50 years ago, if I went round and sampled everybody's garden, I would find C. difficile. But I can guarantee now that if I go and sample everybody's garden, you find C. difficile. So it's there, it's in the environment. And so we've got to try and work out how that process occurs, whereby production animals excrete all this C. difficile. How does it then get to the point where it becomes a risk for people?
I mean, because if you kill a pig, you're going to cook it and eat it. Whereas if you use its feces on salad crops, you're going to rinse the salad crop. I mean, you might use a little bit of chlorine, but would that have any effect on it, do you think?
No.
Potatoes and things like that? I mean, I don't tend to wash my hands when I've handled a potato, but I would a piece of chicken.
You probably should wash your hands when you handle a potato, because the work we've done, potatoes, particularly what we call in Australia brush potatoes. I'm not a great chef. I don't really understand potatoes, but brush potatoes have the dirt still left on them. They're not washed.
Right.
And they actually last longer. So some people like to buy brush potatoes. So we've shown, and it's published, it's out there, 50% of the potatoes you can get in Australia are contaminated with C. difficile. So it's not eating potatoes, don't get me wrong.
No.
All those Irish people that eat lots of potatoes, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
But it's contaminating the environment further. So
Well, like your kitchen.
like your kitchen.
Yeah.
And indeed, we've done surveys of kitchens and, people bring their potatoes in, they go to their sink and they scrub them and do all that. All they're doing is contaminating their kitchen. And so, we've done surveys in some of the very, shall I say, expensive suburbs in Perth, and 10% of the kitchens were contaminated. So that's a problem.
Can I ask, when you do these testing, on a real practical level, how do you do it? Like, how are you making sure your method is good enough to actually be able to find C. diff in the environment? What false swab do you use? And
Well, we don't use those swabs that are on sticks. We use, and the MWE guys are here, you can go and talk to them. They use these kind of cellulose sponges.
Sponges, yeah.
Yeah.
Tina Bradley used to say they were the best way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Best way for environmental sampling. So you can measure a square of 10 centimetres by 10 centimetres, something. We sample that. We then put that into a stomacher. What are they called? Paddle blenders, I think is the official description. With some salines, all you need for C. diff, because it's not particularly finicky. The spores, because that's all you're really after.
yeah,
Paddle blend, plate it out. You never have any problems growing your C. diff. So that's how we do that. And again, as part of this NHMRC grant, we've done household sampling in both Perth and Brisbane and found similar sort of contamination rates of the kitchen environment.
So if you could wave a magic wand and stop something, one thing you could do, or one intervention you could do that you think would have the biggest impact for C. diff, I think I know the answer, but what would you do?
Well, I'd stop putting cephalosporins in animals.
Yeah.
I've been saying that for about 20 years. But it's a bit difficult. I mean, that's the issue. Certainly the farming lobby in the US is particularly strong, and so they've fought tooth and nail against that. I think, again, the FDA has been trying to rescind their arrangement or whatever it was. Mind you, the Department of whatever they call themselves, Health and Human Services, isn't it, in the United States is a bit dysfunctional at the moment as far as I can tell. But again, that's what we need to do in Australia. But again, the agricultural lobby in Australia is pretty strong. So it's difficult. It needs more advertising, is probably not the right word. But it's always very difficult if you're a scientist and you go out and tell people their potato might kill them.
It's a hard sell message.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And so...
And presumably, if you're going to use feces as a manure, there isn't any reasonably practical way of decontaminating it, the spores that make them ineffective so that you've still got the nutritional benefit.
No, it is difficult to get rid of the spores. My personal theory is that if you leave the surface, the lawn or garden or whatever it is, if you either water a lot or it rains a lot, eventually you will wash the spores
Into the deep.
into it. Mate, I don't know if it's creating another problem in the aquifers or whatever.
Yeah. I take it, Perth isn't short of sun, so I take it the effect of sun on these lawns isn't really having an effect, because people do talk about UV decontamination in healthcare.
UV will drop your numbers marginally.
Okay.
But not good.
No.
But I will tell you something that is new. I'm probably not even allowed to talk about this, but a year ago I went to a meeting of the FAO in Rome. You won't know what the FAO is.
What's the FAO?
The FAO is the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations. and they produce a whole lot of guidelines for a whole heap of things. And so technically, if you belong to the United Nations, you're supposed to follow these guidelines, and you'll find that there are guidelines for Clostridia in food, but the only Clostridia that get a Guernsey are botulinum and perfringens. And so a little over a year ago, I got asked to go to a meeting in Rome to talk about C. difficile, because there's never been any really good evidence of foodborne transmission. And so I ended up presenting to them the story of our onion outbreak,
that we chatted about before, haven't we?
which we have chatted about before,
Yeah.
which all the information about onions when I wrote the paper up was removed because I was told to remove it by the editor, who will remain nameless.
Yes.
So, but this, we sat around a table for literally a whole week and we talked about botulism and perfringens, and there were 3, maybe 4 C. diff people, and we talked about C. diff. And all these food microbiology people, they said, oh, well, that's the best evidence we've ever seen of foodborne transmission, because we had good genomic data. But unfortunately, I think people, when you say you can get C. difficile from food, people just dismiss you straight away and say, no, that's wrong. But
Well,
but
basically,
it's not
there's
wrong.
only 2 ways in if you're going to become colonised, and I can't see too many spores scaling your leg to get in the bottom way, so it has to go in through the top.
Somehow. That's true. I don't think too many people will be keen on a C. difficile enema.
No. No. Although people do get enemas to actually cure this.
They do. So anyway, the final report for that FAO meeting is due out in the next couple of weeks, and I think that should create some interest
Yeah. Well, here's hoping.
in C. difficile, because technically you're supposed to follow the recommendations.
And that's United Nations, not WHO, isn't it? So
Yes.
everyone's a member of the United Nations,
Yes.
whereas unfortunately these days not everyone's a member of the WHO.
No, and so I'm hoping that will stimulate a few people to take a bit of interest. And indeed, our environmental health department has got very excited about C. difficile in food and in the environment in general.
Oh, well,
And-
it takes 25 years to become an overnight success. Then.
Yes, I was shocked when that happened, but they're going ahead, full steam ahead of looking at this thing in much more detail now.
Well, better late than never.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks very much, Tom. Really appreciate your time.
That's all right.
And thanks for listening on this latest episode of Vector Control Matters.